Hello and welcome to a new episode of the show. I'm your host, Reda, and this is the Psyche and Human Body podcast. Today's guest is called Carlos Mendez. He is an expert when it comes to the pelvic floor health. So today he will be discussing with us the function of the pelvic floor. What are most of the common problems that we face as men and women when it comes to the pelvic floor muscle and how to fix them? In addition, he will be introducing us to something that is called animal flow. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to follow Carlos Mendez, please follow him at Carlos Fit for Life. He has a workshop when it comes to animal flow and pelvic floor health. I hope you enjoy the episode. Please leave all your comments in the section below whenever you are watching on Spotify, YouTube, or Instagram. And I wish you all the best. See you later. Bye bye. Okay, Carlos. I think we are on.
Yeah, and I bring this here closer. That's
Yeah, it's fine. Like wherever suitable. Like this distance usually I keep it, and this is fine by me. Like usually, this is fine as well.
All right.
Yeah, it's good. Just be careful because like there's a button here at the bottom. It should always stay green.
Yep.
If it came red, then it's gonna mute the sound.
Okay.
Okay, Carlos. How are you today? Let me start by a very simple question. How was your day?
I'm good. Busy as usual. Very busy. Yeah.
As usual. Carlos, for the people, for the audience, to just kindly introduce yourself for the people to know who is Carlos.
I'm Carlos Mendez. I was born in Mexico. I came to the UAE 8 years ago as a fitness trainer for a club. I was already teaching group classes, group fitness, and personal trainer in Mexico. And there was a chance, a vacant, and I applied and I got accepted, and I'm here since 2015.
Super. Like trainer, like what kind of training do you do? Like what kind of an instructor are you?
It has evolved. So I like to learn a lot of things. So in the past 12, 13 years of fitness experience, I have done around 26 certifications, almost like a 2 per year.
Yeah.
And so like every year I take something new in terms of knowledge, but in terms also of whatever is trendy in the market for classes or for fitness.
I see.
And so what started as just less meals, body pump, less meals, body combat, less meals, body balance, evolved into, we in Mexico, we used to call it the dark side, right? The non-less meals is the dark side. So there was the yoga, Pilates mat, freestyle, cycling, all of those things that are not less meals. So I started going from the less meal sides into the dark side and doing both sides, TRX,
the moon, yeah.
suspension training, all of those things, yeah. And then after that, then my PT was merely like fitness and strength with weights. And then it evolved into more like body awareness. And because now I do yoga and Pilates, then evolved into more stretching, mobility. Now I do animal flow. I do breathing from oxygen advantage certification. So then I just started just adding more tools to my bucket, Franklin method workshops. I start adding just more knowledge, more things. And that's what I apply to my clients. So it's not only the fitness or the muscle building practice, but
aspect of the equation, yeah.
You know, it's like everything else that can add to their well-being. Nutrition, I don't touch that much. So I don't want to say I'm expert in nutrition or I will give them any kind of a nutrition plans. Not at all. Everything else I will do.
Super. Like animal flow. What is animal flow? Because I see you like wearing a T-shirt of an animal flow logo on it.
Yeah.
What is animal flow? Like it's the first time that I see it actually.
Awesome. Well, thank you for asking, because I'm the regional leader of Animal Flow in Abu Dhabi.
I didn't know
and my job is to promote it and let people know what it is. So Animal Flow is a ground-based movement. If you could say that there's a strength training and you can do all sorts of types of strength training, call it Les Mills would be one type of strength training. Weightlifting is one type of strength training. Power cycling could be one type of strength training, but then you have cardiovascular training, cardiorespiratory training, you have mobility training and all this kind of umbrellas. Then there is ground-based or quadrupedal movement training. And quadrupedal movement training is basically moving in 4 limbs or 4 points. Yoga could have some quadrupedal poses. Pilates could have some of it, but it's not fully quadrupedal based movement. So both of them help you with mobility and strength, yoga and Pilates in a low impact manner. But animal flow covers a vast majority of ground based movement, quadrupedal movement training, which promotes a better central nervous system training. When you have your hands on the floor, your brain wires more and you wake up proprioception, you wake up many other benefits in your body when you are in those 4 points. Imagine now being 4 points on the grass, in the sand, the grounding sensation is even better. And you do 29 level 1 plus 10 level 2, let's say roughly 40 different moves or poses that you can connect them together, and that becomes a flow.
Super.
And so in a class, for example, you will go through maybe 1, 2, 3, 5, depending on the crowd, amount of moves. You put them together and you create a flow that can improve your mobility, can be or a strength flow, can be a cardio training flow, can be a stretchy flow, can be a pure mobility based flow, can be a resistance flow. You can do anything you want with a flow.
Super. So, like, what's the difference between the animal flow and the yoga? Like, for example, if I'm mostly a person who usually does strength training, and for me, let's say if I need to work on my mobility and so on, I would do a normal stretch or I would go to a yoga class. So, like, where does the animal flow fit in a regimen of a normal person who, let's say, does a strength kind of training?
Perfect. So there's many differences, and that also depends on what type of yoga, right? So there's a lot of different types of yoga that you can do. But if we were to take yoga from its foundation, yoga it's a physical movement practice with a spiritual philosophy of life practice, right? So you get to chant in Om, and you get to do all their mantras, and you get specific mudra for specific things. So animal flow doesn't touch any of that. So it's probably best to say no religion, no political idea, nothing. It's pure movement. So we don't touch on any beliefs that you have, any spiritual beliefs that you have. Is barely pure movement, right? So we won't make you a cult or anything that you might feel like you're belonging to. Not that yoga is, but the foundation is, to promote more into that spiritual, change your diet into Ayurveda. If you want to dig into the yoga practice more deeper, right? You got to do it completely. You probably will transition your life into a different person. Animal flow, you don't have to change anything. You just have to come and move. So it's very neutral compared to that. The second thing is ground-based movement. So animal flow is mostly on the floor or purely on the floor in 4 points. Yoga, you have a lot of standing poses in 2 feet. So that hands on the floor, which happens in downward dog and maybe a few poses, only happens in those. Versus animal flow, you're 100% connected on the ground.
I see.
Although yoga can give you a great mind and body connection, you can still be somehow wandering around, and you need to, even you want to meditate and sit and breathe, and you are doing your best to stay focused on your breathing, your mind keeps going around. Animal flow is probably almost impossible for you to think of anything else, but you're present, and the moment you have your hands on the floor, you got to think about, where am I? Where is my leg? Where is my arm? And we call out is very descriptive. So if we say right leg front step through, you got to think my right leg, take a step to the front, and it goes through. So you got to do this thing right in this moment, right now. You cannot be doing this and think about if you left the washing machine running or not. And so you got to listen to the call out that we say in animal flow. You got to think about and think right arm, crab reach, right arm comes in, and I got to reach in my crab position. Okay, I listen, I understand, I do it. You are so present, nothing can take you away from that moment. And so the beauty of animal flow is that it really grounds your brain into the present moment. And then you enter this amazing flow state, which is your mind and body connection. I found that better done in animal flow. It took me a little bit longer in yoga just because of the nature of having my arms in the air somewhere else. I can still be free to think and feel like, what am I doing in this class? It looks awkward. What am I doing
You have the
this? Right? You
space.
have space to
think.
think.
Yes.
And so it can get a little bit longer for you to reach that state, animal flow. On the first class, you're already on your hands, you're on your feet. There's nothing but the present, and you're only with yourself. So what that could be for me one of the main differences, besides the physical movements are completely different because we don't stand up, we're only on the ground. And the cultural aspect of it, we have no culture associated to animal flow. Anyone, everyone, any age can do it. We respect everybody. And yeah, so probably those would be the main differences.
Thank you very much for that. You mentioned something about the importance of breathing. Like usually I read, like when I used to read some articles over the internet, they always talk about how important the way you breathe is for example, the way you exert energy, the way you perform your training, the way, like, where does breathing and how we breathe fits in our daily lives?
Perfect. I can tell you I did one certification called the Oxygen Advantage with Patrick McKeon, an amazing Irish guy who focuses on nose breathing. Yeah. There's an app you can download it for free, Oxygen Advantage. Follow the steps and exercise your breathing, which I consider very important because we exercise the body, we might exercise the mind, we might exercise the spirit, but we never focus on the respiratory system itself as a training it. So you can consider that you are running and you are breathing and you take for granted that because you are sweating, your heart is moving and you check your heart rate monitor and you think you are training somehow your body, but you are not following any protocol in particular. With the Oxygen Advantage app, you have a protocol of set exercises based on your BOLT test, blood oxygen level test. And so based on that, then you start a program that focuses on your own respiratory system. And you follow those breathing exercises to improve your breathing performance. Well, once you improve that nose breathing performance, then you can use, that's my recommendation, you can use then mouth breathing for certain things. You can use a Pilates breathing, which is different than many other yoga breathings. But exercising your breathing has to be something done as important as you exercise your legs for squats, as you exercise your arms in push-ups, as you do your cycling. Download the app. It will be like the shortest path. Listen to what Patrick says in the introduction and follow the steps to do it. I believe, not right now because I'm talking, I'm using my mouth, but I tape my mouth when I sleep since the last 2 years to improve my nose breathing. Yeah. Has improved drastically my performance in my daily life and also in my other classes while I train myself. I was able to sprint with my mouth closed for like, it was a HIIT training class. So I did about 7 minutes HIIT training, sprinting, recovering without opening my mouth. And all because of the breathing exercises I've been using. So there's a lot of theories about, no, you're going to use this breathing. And yeah, maybe each breathing has its justification to be it. But to train your lungs and improve your lung capacity, my recommendation is to follow nose breathing exercises through the Oxygen Advantage app.
I see. Like, what's the difference between like breathing through the nose and breathing through the mouth? Like in the end, aren't they like? I honestly don't know because what you're saying is very true. Because I've seen also some experts are talking about how important breathing through the nose is, and how some people like are destroying their respiratory system by breathing through the mouth. So can you help us like? What's the difference between the two systems of breathing?
Certainly. So, in a simple words, might sound like a joke or very sarcastic, but would you put an apple through your nose?
No.
Right? Because the nose is not for food.
Very
the
true.
mouth is for food. So what is your nose for?
Breathe.
All right. So what would you use a mouth that
for?
is not meant for breathing, right,
Very
is
true.
meant for food. So our bodies are amazingly done that even though you might think, yeah, it's the same pathway, but you don't feel the same when you breathe from your nose or when you breathe from your mouth, right? You can feel your throat getting drier if you only breathe from your mouth.
Very true.
Then you will
Very
get
true.
more thirsty,
Very true.
and then you will need more water, and then you will probably, a lot of things will happen after that. So definitely you want to use your nose more in that case. Second thing, how do you breathe when you are angry or when you are anxious or when you are desperate? Right? How do you breathe when you're calm, when you're meditating, when you're relaxed? Nose breathing, right? Lips closed. And you keep even the chanting, right? Back to yoga. Your lips are closed and you are just breathing from your nose. So it does has a relation with your central nervous system, with your sympathetic and parasympathetic state, your flight or fight, and your rest and digest. So your brain doesn't differentiate when you are activating because you are stressed, ready to fight, or we're just in a computer writing an email.
Very true.
The levels of stress will keep increasing because you are using your mouth. Versus if you keep your nose and you're writing that stressful email, but using your nose, you probably will regulate your central nervous system into a more parasympathetic mode rest. And then you probably will have more focus, more attention, and eventually perform better than using your mouth. So there's a lot of differences or a lot of effects if you are a nose breather than a mouth breather.
Very interesting, because also the other day I was reading that breathing through the nose actually increases the amount of nitric oxide, like it vasodilates better the veins while you're training, so which reflects into performing better. So that's actually very interesting, because like a lot of people nowadays usually neglect the importance of breathing through the nose, and it becomes a habit for them where they just breathe through the mouth because it's easier. And they don't think that, oh, maybe I'm not performing well because I'm breathing through the mouth, because nobody cares about it. They say, oh, maybe I need to change my diet, I need to sleep more, and so on. But as you said, like it's something which is neglected, which is very important actually in the equation of how to be better. Carlos, I see over here that you have a pops of pelvis. What can you tell me about this?
Pelvis, yeah. So I use this pelvis a lot when I need to do my pelvic floor workshops or Franken method workshops where I teach people how their body works.
Super.
The Franken method is one of the latest certifications that I did. I'm a level 2 educator. It takes 6 months to do each one of them. So I finished mine March this year, April this year. Thank you. And yeah, and so I what I do is I help people understand how their body works. So I do believe, by the way, everything I teach, of course, I try it with myself. So for example, the breathing exercises, myself, I have 5 nose surgeries, and you probably won't see it here, but my nose is quite deviated. One side is smaller than the other. So I have had problems breathing for my entire life. So for me to be able to sprint without using my mouth and breathing after 5 surgeries with no help to bring the septum back to where it was, for me, it's an aha moment, a breakthrough moment. So when I teach people about this, because I know it works, so I've seen the difference in me, and therefore I teach it with other people. So I don't teach out of haven't tried and I don't know if it works. It actually works because it works on me. So embodiment or understanding how my body works. So I got a lot of anatomy training through my other fitness trainer courses, but I never embody what exactly was in my body. So embodiment is a term that I learned from the Franken method that is something beyond the obvious, like a feeling beyond the obvious. You embody something. If I ask you to recall a memory of your favorite dish, and the moment you can start remember, I was with these people, it was this time in life, I was feeling this happy, your mouth starts watering thinking about it. You embodied that moment, right? You embody that moment in your life, and it's so present that your body biochemically secretes now saliva because you remember how the taste of it was. And maybe you can remember the smell, and you're going to start smelling. Even though the dish is not around, you can start remembering, feel like, wow, that smells like that thing that I was, and or the fragrance that the woman was wearing, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can remember that that's embodiment, right? Like something so deep that you really
Live it.
live
Like,
it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
feel
it's
and
like
live it.
embodied in you.
So anatomy, embody it, where I'm like, okay, so this is what my shoulder feels, and that's what I'm moving. So all the biomechanics of the human body understood from a different point of view in lame terms for everybody to access it. That's what I teach in the Franklin method. So now you know, even if you don't know the name of the muscle or the name of the bone, but the moment you see it, and then I help you see it in your body and feel it, then you're like, oh, so this is my femur. This is what it's supposed to do. I didn't know it can rotate. I didn't know it could do this. I thought it was only this way. And those breakthrough moments, when you understand and you have this like, oh, suddenly pain, then you're like, wait, maybe I didn't rotate the thigh in a regular way that I'm supposed. Let me see if I can just rotate it in a few squats. And then you do the squat in that position, the pain is gone, right? Because you understood how your body is supposed to move.
I see.
And so there's all these different biomechanics that can happen, reaching for the bag and hurting your shoulder. When you do the shoulder workshop and I explain you how all three different bones of the shoulder girdle are supposed to move, then you're like, oh, I just needed to embody this a little bit more and my reach was better. And I didn't have the pain or I improved my mobility, many things. So I use this pelvis and many other bones to help people understand their own bodies and embody their function so that they can move better in life.
Amazing. And how can we move better in life? Like how, like for example, because like I also once took a look at our pelvis, like the way the pelvis is aligned and the way we live our daily lives affects the pelvis heavily and the hip flexors and so on, and it reflects on our overall body alignment. So, what can you tell me? Let's say major problems of the that arise from the pelvis, and how can we fix them?
There's a lot of them. So the one I can just quickly think being seated in this position is to show you a lot of people don't know about these two bones called the sit bones.
Okay.
So they have a natural, like an anatomical name for it, but the term that we use, lame terms, I say, is sit bones.
Sit bones.
And when you know where they are and you're supposed to sit on them, right? Then you understand that a lot of people will not sit on their sit bones, but they will rock their pelvis back and they will sit in this position, right? And so they have the weight on the coccyx, not anymore on the sit bones in that way. And so if you have all of this, then you can start understanding how this base of the spine is now receiving more load or heavier, dropped in a different position, right? And you spend 8 hours in the office doing that, not sitting on your sit bones, and then you want to get up and try to move this back to where you normally are when you normally stand up, you can see there's going to be some kind of a problem, right? But if you were seated on your sit bones, the alignment would have been a lot easier to maintain when you get up and walk out and go for the toilet or a meeting or anything, right?
Amazing, yeah.
And so that's a simple when I teach you, this is called the sit bone. Can you find it in your body? Can you touch it and sit on it? People are like, oh, really? Is that it?
Yeah, I do have
oh, I do have a bone there.
Now I want to
And
now
now
just wanna...
and you just did, right?
Well, I think maybe I'm sitting wrong now.
Yeah. And there's no problem to sit like this.
Yeah.
As long as I'm going to be here for an hour, I have no problem. But now I go to my car, I know when I'm in my car, I sit properly because I drive longer and I can stay here more conscious. So the problem is not sitting like this. The problem is sitting here for a lot of time, every day, make it in a habit. That's where the problem starts. But if you start improving the habit in as many times as possible, like I just said, driving. Maybe with you right now, I'm sitting more comfortable because the chair is new for me. I'm not used to it. I'm going to sit like this for the next hour. But the moment I walk out of here, I know how to align my pelvis. The moment I go into my car, I know how to sit in my car and embody my good alignment on the pelvis and drive back home and continue doing my things with my pelvis in the right way. People in the office don't do that. They stay with the wrong pelvis most of the time. They go to their cars and they sit on the car. They go to their house and they sit on the couch. They exercise for an hour and they go back and sit on the couch again like this, right? And so this is the new habit. And then they wonder why they have all this biomechanical pain.
Super. That's
So just teaching about the sit bones,
yeah.
just one thing,
Tell me.
it just made you,
Yeah, just like I
it
was
just
like, oh
made
my
you
god, like I think
feel
that I'm
like,
sitting in the wrong way, so let me just
yeah.
adjust myself in front of him, and he's talking about it, so let me just adjust this way I said. Man, like one more thing, like how do we, let's say, reflect on a healthier habits of taking care of our pelvis, like in our daily lives? Like, what things should we better consider to have a healthier, let's say, hip area, let's say, or mobility, and how can people get out of the bad habits of, let's say, sitting all day at work to, because like I know that sitting for a long time also reflects heavily in a negative way on your body. So what things can people do in their daily lives to try to minimize this effect?
Okay. So, of course, my first recommendation will be to come to any of the workshops to learn about your body, right? To understand how your hips, where your hip is, where is this bone that you feel, where is this, and how you need to move it. That will give you way, like, unlock infinite possibilities to understand when you move, when you exercise, when you squat, because I give you lots of examples there. But even if you are not aware of your hips and you don't have time to come to the workshops, just moving your hip or moving the pelvis in all different ranges. So, for example, if you are in an office, I would say, okay, once in a while, get yourself an alarm to walk out of your desk and go for a little 5-minute walk just to visit another colleague or go to the next floor, climb up the stairs. Climb the stairs in your building if there's only one floor difference between one office and the other. That's where I live. There's an office in the mezzanine floor, and people take the elevator from the ground to the mezzanine, and the half office is in the first floor, and they take the elevator just to change from mezzanine to first floor, mezzanine to ground.
And you're like,
And I'm
why do
like,
we have
it's
legs? I don't get it. Like, why do we have legs?
the stairs are not that long neither. It's probably 20 steps.
Yeah.
It will probably help you more to take the steps up and down than just taking the elevator. So little actions on a daily life, just literally get up, walk to the stairs, come down, walk to the cafeteria, walk to get your food somewhere else, maybe have the food somewhere in a restaurant, just to get you out of the office and walk somewhere instead of going to the car, drive to the car, get back to the car, go to the office, take the elevator, no walking, go back, right? So moving as much as you can during your daily life, that will be one of the best advices. And if you can move in all directions, literally taking your pelvis and move it, tilting sideways, rotated, circular, step on the side. So if in your workout, whatever workout you do, you can find that you're doing this to your pelvis, great. Then at least you moved it, you lubricated the joints while you were doing that certain amount of exercise.
So let's say like try to move the joints as much as possible, like in all directions.
In all
Like as you
directions.
said, just like to lubricate all the areas, not to have like one a stiff area compared to the other.
Exactly.
I see.
Like, for example, I love body pump, right? I love body pump, but if you only do the first 4 tracks, your hip didn't move that much. Your pelvis stayed in the same position because you squat, you bent over, and you just did in this direction, in the sagittal plane. You didn't get a lateral squat or moving sideways, or maybe if you do the 45-minute or an hour, then you do a step back lunge or a lunge where your pelvis will somehow rotate in a different way. Okay, I got a little bit of movement in the pelvis, but maybe there was no twisting, unless at the last track you have a core track when you get to do your obliques. So you miss the rotation. So body pump is amazing. It gives you a little bit of rotation and a little bit of movement on the pelvis. But then you have classes like body combat when you need to rotate, kick, open the leg, kick, lift the leg, kick, body attack when you need to jump in jacks and then you move side to side in skaters and then you go forward and you run back. That will be a more pelvic movement than just body pump, right? So if you're a person that just hits the gym, it's like you're only gonna get into what? Squats, bicep curls, shoulder press. You're still not moving in a different range other than just the
And you
sagittal plane.
notice that by the time like they reach a point where they cannot perform as good as they were because of how stiff they become, because like let's say pressuring your joints over and over again without like let's say lubricating, as you said, reflects negatively over time. So maybe as you said, like small things over time can reflect positively in the future.
And that's what I recommend animal flow to all of them, because animal flow has all this three-dimensional movement on the ground where your pelvis goes in this position, this twist, open the leg, kick the leg, come back, extend, squeeze the leg, close the legs, open the legs. It has all this mobility in your hips and in your knees, in your joints in general, but particularly for the pelvis, it does a lot of mobility in the pelvis. So something that anybody can add to their workout is just a quick flow of maybe 5 moves, 6 moves, 2 switches. And that will be a good complement on your workout. We're not saying stop everything, do animal flow, stop everything and do yoga, stop everything and do Pilates. No. Do everything. So make a more complete workout with strength training, cardiorespiratory training, cardiovascular training, ground-based movement, mind and body exercises, control exercises, core exercises, quadrupedal movement training, suspension training, some form of TRX, cross core, rip 60, any of those disciplines. That add a different dimension to your workout. And I believe the more complete your workout is, the more resilient your body will be to all these things.
Yeah, very true. Like, let's say being, as you said, like resilient, in order for you to be resilient, you need to be able, let's say, to adapt in so many different situations, which is well said, Saraha. Carlos, from you being here as an instructor in this part of the world, like what is something, let's say, that you noticed in most of the clients? Like, have you noticed that the way they live their daily lives, the way they go through the day, like, do they have like something in common? Because over here, like, I've been living for the past 25 years, and I noticed that not everyone is educated about how important training is, how important nutrition is, how important to move is, because like part of the culture is not to move. It's training is not very embedded in here. Like, so how can you change? Like, how can we change that? For example, like, how can we show people how important training is, how it reflects positively in our lives, like as an instructor?
Good question.
Yeah.
So I've seen that there's a lot of effort promoting and showing and inviting people to move. Unfortunately, what I can say is many of the people that I have met have come because of an injury, because of a problem. So they had to face a problem.
They had to fix something
to then understand how important it was.
Yeah.
And so I wish there was a better way to make people wake up before the damage is done. But so far the pattern has been this. I do this workshop every Saturday. And people come up to me and then say, listen, my shoulder hurts. I don't know what to do with it. I went to the physio. It's not getting better. Went to the doctor. It's not getting better. I'm like, well, come to the workshops. I have a brunch.
So
It's Saturday and it's too early in the morning. It's 9 a.m. It's like, can you make it at 12 on a Saturday? And like, I get all this and it's sad because, so you have a problem and you want to fix it. And when I try to give the solution, there's other things for you that are more important than fixing it. So maybe it wasn't as important. And there's all this life coaching and questioning that can be quite aggressive. And I could turn into this motivational coach and be like, so what is more important for you? Tell me now, make a decision. I used to do that and it was quite pushy. And I noticed for some people worked, but for some people didn't work, right? It was just a temporary thing where they kind of create a few days of change and then way back. So I guess everybody has his own time in life to understand when they want to create the change. I'm here for everybody to take a next step, come to the workshop and start changing now. My doors are open. I invite everybody to do the change as soon as possible. But it's up to people to realize that they need to prioritize their health before work,
the injury happens,
before the injury happens,
let's say
before
something bad happens.
something, yeah.
Very true. Carlos, how can people reach you? Where do you do the workshops? How can people reach you if they are interested in changing?
So, well, there's the workshops I teaching at the Body Tree Studio. So you can just follow the Body Tree Studio and look for the Franken Method workshops. For Animal Flow, there's also on my Instagram account. So you have Carlos Fit for Life on Instagram. You can follow me, message me,
Sure,
and
I
you'll
will
see that.
link it in the episode.
And I'm just about to release my website, carlosfitforlife.com.
Okay.
So it's almost done, almost ready. Needs to have some tweaks. So through my website as well, there will be a vast opportunity to in January, or when I promote it right in a few weeks. Yeah, so I will to the website carlosfitforlife.com. You could probably also reach me, see a little bit of all the things that I do.
Carlos, what motivated you to be an instructor? What motivated you to be a trainer? Why trainer, not some other profession?
I'm actually an engineer by profession. I'm a telecommunications engineer. Yeah,
Why?
I'm a telecommunications engineer. I graduated from Mexico in Puebla. Very happy with a 99.98 average out of 100. So I love engineering, and I guess that's one of the things. I'm an engineer by nature, so I like problem solving, and I like structure, and I like science. And so but I always exercise. My dad was a doctor, rest in peace. My mom a nutritionist. So I always was interested in the human body and the medicine aspect of the body and the mechanical part. So I actually wanted to study biomedical engineering, but I couldn't take biomedical engineering. So situations in life took me to telecommunications engineering, and I did it. But after I worked for 5 years there, life happens, and that's when I shift to fitness. So you can say that I've always liked structure, always liked medicine. I always liked the human body. I always exercised one way or another, karate, swimming, all sorts of movement practice in my life. I did get fat when I was an engineer, so I stopped moving, and I went through the phase like any other work space.
9 to 5 job kind of.
9 to 5 job, no, 9 to 9 to 9 to 9,
9 to 5,
9
let
to
me tell you.
11, 9 to 24 hours,
9 to everything but 5.
9 to everything but 5. So I went through that, so I also know how that feels. So I've been through things that I know my clients could have been or are going through. So that helps me understand and puts me in a position to say, yeah, I know you can change because I tried this myself. But I always like to help. So the best reward for me is knowing that whatever I did made a difference. So knowing that somebody feels better, or just see them feeling better, I don't need the reward or a thank you or anything. Just knowing that in my classes, through the workshops, through things, people can have this, wow, I feel better. Now I can move my life, because that's the way I felt when I learned from Eric Franklin, the Franklin Method, from Mike Fitch, Animal Flow. When I felt those things and I felt my body, I just want to share and transmit that feeling of well-being, freedom, mobility, life, right? Like feeling alive, doing what you can do. So that's what I like, what I do.
Super, actually. The feeling of being content, by helping others, is something which a lot of trainers that I've spoken to and people who are, let's say, more into the fitness industry are doing it because of. So, seeing the reflection of your work in someone else and how you change their life is actually touching. It gives you the sensation of, hey, I'm a good human in a sense. I did a change for someone. I helped someone in being better. I changed the life.
The world's a better place now, right?
Yeah.
Because they are better.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Very true. Carlos, what are your plans for the future? What are you planning to do later on? What plans does Carlos Fit for Life have for the future?
It's a very good question, because people think it's easy to be in this spot, but it's definitely not easy. And there's things that a lot of times you need to really get out of the comfort zone and out of your regular box. So one thing that I never did, and I've been, because I'm more like a human to human person. You know, maybe people will like to be in front of 8,000 people and they want the lights, and I'm not that. It takes me a while to get there, or to request it. If I happen to be there, that's a different story. If somebody invited me, that's a different story. But for me to look for it, it's not going to happen. But people have asked me to do retreats and to provide this 1 weekend retreat or something where it takes a lot of effort to organize, not only to organize the material and the content of the retreat by myself, but to the location is good, the timing is good, the service is good, which is not in my direct control and I can't control, right? So that's out of my comfort zone, because if I can control it, I can do it, I take full responsibility. But now trying to gather other resources and make sure that they work for the purpose and they want to do a high quality service at the standard I want to give it.
You have to align yourself with the same
mentality, right? So it's really hard, but I'm gonna give it a try to start in the next year, 2024, do a series of retreats in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, and later on in Bali by the end of the year. So hopefully that, if that goes as planned, then definitely there will be a great opportunity for a big project in Bali, for a congress in particular, actually. So yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Carlos, I forgot to ask you something. You mentioned like there's more than one type of yoga, and actually there is, but I don't know about them. Like, can you give me like a briefing on different types of yoga and what's the difference between them?
Okay, so in the origin, there was only one yoga that we're going to call it the hatha yoga, the physical aspect of the whole yoga philosophy living. And the hatha, the physical experience of yoga, suddenly branched out into different areas. So some yogas are stronger, faster, organized, structured, free, flowy, quiet, and so forth. So then you have yoga as meditation. Just sitting in a comfortable meditation pose and breathing, that's yoga, right? Breathing, union on the body and the mind. But that's very static. So probably some people would not like to be seated for an hour. They might prefer something more active. So you have Ashtanga yoga, which is a structured series of pose A, pose B, pose C, or pose 1, 2, 3, series A, pose 1, 2, 3, 4, series B, is the same series, and it's not easy. But you follow the first time and you follow the second time, and your body will adapt, and you eventually will reach that strength, flexibility to do the whole series in the proper way. At the beginning, you will use options, but it's quite strong, it's quite energetic, it's quite, it requires way more focus than just sitting and breathing. You have Vinyasa flow, which is a combination of, let's put this 1 or 3, 4 poses together and make them flowy back to back, so that maybe you can memorize this 4 and just move along in this flow, right? And that's a Vinyasa. Then you have Kundalini, you have all these other types. I would say keep trying as many classes as you can, because no class is the same. No instructor is the same. You are not the same on different classes, depends on your day. So you cannot judge one class just by the first time you go. Try as many classes as possible in the same place, same instructor, same place, different instructor, different places, until you find the type of yoga that suits you.
Very nice. Carlos, what can you say for someone who's sitting at home right now, for example, watching us, and who's
Move.
planning, move us, get off the chair,
Watch
please.
it. Watch it when you're on. Watch us when you're on the treadmill. Put the phone on the treadmill. Listen to us and just start walking. Move.
Just
Or on a stationary bike while you're listening to the podcast and move the legs while you're doing that. If that's the least you can do, that's the least you can do. So yeah,
just do it.
just do
Please.
something. Just move. No, wait, sorry. Finish the question.
Yeah,
Somebody
like,
that's seated.
what advice can you give for someone who's planning to start and they just don't know how and they want to change their life, but they need a direction and they're lost? Like, what can they do?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is, can you find your reason why? Can you just write down why? I don't know what to do. Okay, but why do you want to do it? And then once you answer that question, then you're going to have more narrow answers for that. So I want to do this because I want to be fitter. Yeah, what is fitter for you? Why does fitter? No, because fitter means lifting my kids and my daughter who is 2 years old. Also, that's fit. Or fit is fixing the house, climbing up the stairs, and I can't get up the stairs. Okay, but you're healthy, right? You're healthy overall. You just are not fit. Okay, then go for a group fitness class just to get fit. Go for a personal trainer that can give you a routine to get fit. And then you're like, okay, I want to be fit because I can't move, because my back hurts all the time, because this is okay. Then go for a low impact class. Don't go for a high impact class. Don't go for a HIIT class. Go for a low impact class first, a Pilates class, a reformer class, a yoga class. Talk to the instructor. Listen, I've been struggling with this, and this pain. Can you give me something in this class, or can you guide me in this class to, to have some direction? And so now you have, because your goal is to get better at that lower back pain or reduce that lower back pain or hip pain. That's why you started that way. My why is because I want to look awesome and fit for the summer, and I'm fat, and that's fine. Then you are fit and you are fine. You are not injured. Then probably you need an aggressive workout with a personal trainer, not a group class, but a personal trainer that is going to kick your butt, put you in a regime, give you the nutrition plan, give you these things, and that's right, because that's your why. So that's where you can get from. So I think first you need to know why you want to start moving. What do you want to get out of whatever activity you want to do?
Like, what's your main motivation to keep doing it? Like, because you see a lot of people who usually they start, but they get to the goal where they wanted to, and they stop, and then they rebound. It's, I think, from my own experience, is that they don't have the right motivation, or they don't have the true why.
The true why.
The why which keeps them consistent in this. The why which keeps this as a lifestyle for them in the future and not as a goal. Like, for example, you see people, they are, let's say, whatever weight they are in, and they want to reach a certain weight. They get to that weight, and then they start bouncing back because in their mind, okay, I'm done. I got to the weight. Then you see that they start relapsing back and back. It's because they didn't find the why, as you mentioned, to keep this consistent for them in the future.
Why do I want that weight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why do I want to have the 72 or 80 kilograms with muscle mass? Why do I want it? I reached it, but why? Exactly.
What's the motivation behind it? Very true. Carlos, on a final question, I usually ask the guests which come into the podcast is, are you happy in life?
Good question. My birthday was yesterday. And so,
happy birthday.
thank you. I think myself, I was so happy the entire day, feeling, the affection of everybody showing me and giving me the support. And I said the only one thing that I wished was for Palestine to heal better. So that's the only thing that doesn't make me happy. And it really, really, really has taken on my mental health. I am about to cry just to mention it. So I'm happy until I think about that.
Well, I hope you will be happy, man. Like, I wish you nothing but the best, honestly. And is there anything you want to share before we close up the episode?
No, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for Salah for
Sure.
for giving you
Sure. Thank you very much, Carlos, for coming in. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you nothing but happiness and well-being in life. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.